I've got a paradigm shift for you. You don't need money to make money in real estate. I'm going to give you two very easy examples of what I mean by that. The first one is finder's fees. So my brother and I pay finder's fees on a weekly basis. We have people who bring us deals, aren't even in necessarily real estate, but they have family members or acquaintances who have a piece of property that fits our buying parameters. And they bring us the deal, and we'll pay them anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000, in some cases $10,000, depending on the deal. So if you know somebody who's in the real estate business, whether it's an investor or a flipper or a wholesaler, chances are, if you have a deal and it's worthwhile, so they'll pay you to bring it to them. That's one way to make really quick cash in the real estate game. Another way is to find a deal that you can own or finance. So people don't realize how much property in the U.S., I don't know the statistics, but there's a large amount of property in the U.S., this is publicly available data, that is not leveraged or mortgaged. Especially baby boomers, they own real estate, whether it's a rental portfolio or a home that they want to downsize out of, but over the course of the last 50, 60 years, they've paid down the mortgage. They now own this free and clear. If you can identify what the leverage is in the situation, what is that particular seller's needs, in almost every instance, you can convince the person to finance the property to you. So let's say you wanted to, build a spec house. If you're want to get into real estate development, which is a little more complex, it's a little bit more moving parts in that particular niche of real estate. But let's say you wanted to build a house, and your father has a piece of property that was farmland. Let's say your uncle. Let's call him Uncle Frank. So Uncle Frank has a piece of property. He's got farmland, and over the years, the economic conditions have changed. So Uncle Frank's property was worth $1,000 an acre 10 years ago. Market's shifted. His property's not so rural because the city limits have expanded. Whatever the case is, that property's now worth, call it $25,000 an acre. So you want to buy 3 acres off of Uncle Frank. So you go to Uncle Frank and you say, hey, Uncle Frank, would you owner finance this property to me and take a second position to the bank? Now you have two options. Uncle Frank can take a second position to the bank, which leaves him a little bit more exposed, or you make him a part of the deal where, let's say he wanted $75,000, you agree to pay Uncle Frank $80,000, but he has to take the second position to the bank, and you make him a member, or you make him a limited partner on the deal. So then now you have a piece of property that you didn't own, you didn't pay any money for. You're getting it for $5,000 over market value, so you're not overpaying for it significantly. And you go to the bank and you say, look here, Mr. Banker, I need a construction loan for $300,000 to build this spec house, and I have this piece of property that we own free and clear that's worth $75,000. So Mr. Banker is going to say, all right, well, that's pretty good equity that you're putting towards the project. His requirement is going to be somewhere between 20% loan to value, meaning he'll lend you, 80% loan to value. So he'll lend you somewhere between 70 to 80%. So all he would require from you is that remaining 20 to 30% of the value of the finished home. So if you take your piece of property, you use that as your equity, you now have a fully funded construction loan on a piece of property that you never owned or purchased, and you leverage towards your deal. It sounds more complicated than it actually is. And if I was writing this down or marking this down on a whiteboard, it might make a little more sense. It's not that complicated to get into real estate, and you don't need money to do it.